A mom sold her 6-year-old daughter for $1,000. Why? A witness says the buyer wanted her green eyes and her skin. This case shocked South Africa, and it might be solved, but the case isn't over. Where is little Joshlin Smith? Let's recap. Six-year-old Joshlin Smith was last seen around 2 p.m. on February 19th, 2024. She was at home in the Middle Post settlement, a poverty-stricken part of Saldanha Bay, a couple of hours outside Cape Town. When she vanished, the community jumped into action. Search dogs, drones, cops, volunteers. Everyone was looking. But her mom, well, Kelly Smith didn't exactly seem heartbroken. While neighbors were up all night, worried sick about Joshlin and their own kids, Kelly, she was sleeping just fine. No tears, no panic. She seemed oddly calm. And then came more red flags. During the search, Kelly said something strange to Joshlin's teacher. She claimed a Nigerian man told her that Joshlin was on a ship inside a container headed to West Africa. And then in a quieter voice, she added, "Remember, Buta is innocent." Now, Buta is her boyfriend, the one Kelly said was home with Joshlin the day she disappeared. And that's when people really started to question what Kelly knew and why she wasn't acting like a frantic mother. Even a local pastor came forward, saying that a year before Joshlin vanished, Kelly had talked about selling her kids. He says she told him she could get 20,000 rand, around $1,000 American dollars, for each child. And if that was too much, she was willing to go as low as 275. Chilling words from a mother of 3. And now investigators wanted to know, was that just talk or was she dead serious? And then 2 weeks later, police brought Kelly, her boyfriend, Buta, his real name is Joshyn, his friend, Stefano Van Ryn, and Kelly's good friend and neighbor, Laurentia Renz Lombard, in for questioning. And the real story starts after they're in handcuffs. Renz Lombard is the first to crack and the first to get an immunity deal. According to her, this nightmare started the day before Joshlin vanished. That's when Kelly, Joshlin's own mom, confessed something unthinkable. She told Renz she sold her daughter to a Sangoma, a traditional healer. Why? Because the woman wanted her for her pretty green eyes and light skin. The price, 20,000 rand. That's about 1,000 US dollars. And the reason? Kelly needed the money. The next day, February 19th, Ren says Kelly gave the order. She told her boyfriend Buta to have Joshlin ready by 2 p.m. That's when she'd be picked up. They packed a few clothes in a black cooler bag, and then Renz watched as Kelly walked her little girl out to a white car. The same white car Kelly had been talking to the day before. Kelly and Joshlin got in, the car drove off, and just like that, Joshlin was gone. But that white car wasn't the end of the story, because behind the scenes, Kelly was already working to keep people quiet. She knew what she'd done, and she didn't want it getting out, so she started making offers. According to court testimony, Kelly promised her friend, Renz, 1,000 rand to stay silent. She offered Stefano Van Ryn even more, 1,200. And when the police showed up asking questions, they all played dumb, said they didn't know a thing. But Kelly didn't pay up. And when the arrest started, her friend Renz flipped, cutting a deal to testify against the others. And just when investigators thought they'd heard it all, a new name entered the story. Makalima. Stefano and Buta tell police she's the Sangoma Joshlin was allegedly sold to. She lives just steps from where Kelly, her boyfriend, and her kids were living. Her real name, he says, is actually Pumza Sigaka, a married mom of 3. One day later, she's arrested. She appears in court twice as the investigation unfolds, but just when it seems like police might have the buyer in this sick transaction, the case hits a wall. Charges against her are dropped. Why? Because there's no evidence linking her to Joshlyn's disappearance. She says she had nothing to do with it. The last time she saw Joshlyn was the day the little girl disappeared. According to her, she walked past with her mom, and later that same day, Kelly came knocking on her door, asking if she'd seen her. That's it. That's her story. So she walks free, and little Joshlyn still missing. But Kelly's not taking the fall quietly. She's denied all the claims against her and pointed the finger right back at the people who flipped on her. According to her, Renz, the same woman testifying against her, and Renz's boyfriend are the ones behind it all. It's a classic case of she said, but with a missing child at the center of it, someone is lying. And the truth still feels out of reach. Kelly claims she was just going about a normal day. In her own words, this is how it went down. She says she got up around 7 a.m., got Joshlyn and her little brother dressed, gave them food, and told them they weren't going to school because their uniforms were dirty. And then around 8:15, she says she dropped off her youngest daughter at a child care center in town and headed to work at a house where she cleans. By 9 a.m., she claims she was on the job, but then it takes a turn. At 11:30, Kelly says she borrowed some money from her employer and bought crystal meth, known locally as tick. She and her boyfriend smoked it, and then she says she went back to work. Between 12:30 and 2:30, she drops off her son with his grandma, finishes work, and picks up the daughter she left at daycare. By 4:45 p.m., she's home. She says she asked Buta where the kids were. He told her Joshlyn was around. The evening continues the same way. Stefano comes over, the three of them do more drugs, and finally by 7, Kelly says she finally starts looking. First with the neighbor, then by 9, she calls the police. But here's the problem. Her version doesn't add up. The woman Kelly says she was working for that day, she tells investigators Kelly never showed up. And then there's Kelly's friend, the one who dropped that courtroom bombshell, saying Joshlyn had been sold the day before she disappeared. Her story completely contradicts Kelly's. So now the question is, was Kelly covering her tracks, or was someone else responsible for her daughter's disappearance? Either way, Joshlyn is gone, and the truth is getting harder and harder to find. The trial kicked off in March of 2025. And with no hard proof of what actually happened to Joshlyn, no body, no crime scene, no forensic evidence, everything came down to one person, Kelly's former friend, Renz Lombard. Now, the judge admitted she wasn't the perfect witness. She'd changed her story more than once. But in the end, he said she was believable where it counted. She backed up the claims that Joshlyn was sold for 20,000 Rand. She named names, Kelly, Buta, Stefano. She said they were all in on the plan from the start. 2 police officers did testify that they'd investigated that Sangoma angle and found no real proof that Joshlyn was sold to any healer for body parts. But clearly someone has that child. They just don't know who. As for the accused, Kelly, her boyfriend, and Stefano, they stayed silent, didn't testify, didn't explain a thing, never said where Joshlyn is or if she's even still alive. But police haven't given up. They're still looking for Joshlin Smith, wherever she might be. After 2 long months in court, the verdict is in. All 3 guilty, kidnapping and human trafficking in connection to her disappearance. When the judge read the verdict, Kelly broke down in tears, but in the gallery, applause. The courtroom erupted, relieved that someone was at least being held accountable. Now they're all facing the possibility of life behind bars. But even with the guilty verdicts, one heartbreaking question still hangs in the air. Where is Joshlin Smith? Now the judge does believe that they might get more answers at sentencing. This case is still developing. Now, do you think that they're going to confess about who exactly bought her or where she might be? Will we ever find out the truth? Let's talk about it in the comments. And if you like getting all the crime in half the time, I'm Amy. My husband Chris and I are here 3 times a week with new recaps. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story. Thanks for spending your time with us today. Until next time, take care.